Will AI replace our audio engineering friends? Or maybe you're wondering, will AI make my music sound better? Well, I'm hoping to answer some of those questions in today's video. So I've recently put out a song called Cinematic, and I've shown the making of that song using only free VSTs, and I'll put a link of that if you haven't seen it somewhere above me. But for today's video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at both iZotope and Sonible, and I'm gonna look at their smart machine learning capabilities to see if it can mix and master a track as good as me. Now, I do want to put out a disclosure. I'm not a mix and mastering engineer. I have a pretty darn good understanding of sound design. I have a good understanding of how to mix and how to EQ and how to do dynamic processing, but I'm by no means a mix and mastering engineer. I'm a producer and a music composer. And I know that the people who watch my videos, maybe some of you come from a background where you're really good at composing music, maybe you're a beat maker, and you still don't quite have the capabilities to mix and master your songs properly. So you've wondered, can I use iZotope's Ozone or Neutron to mix and master my songs with their assistant? Or maybe you looked at Sonible's Smart EQ4 or Smart EQ3 and Smart Comp and Smart Limiter and said, man, can it do all these things for me? Well, I'm hoping that this video will answer those questions because I'm gonna put them up against a human. All right, so we're gonna start by comparing Sonible's Smart Essentials Suite first, and then we're gonna compare iZotope's Music Production Bundle. It's not gonna be a perfect example, but it's gonna give you an idea just how much value these tools add to your arsenal. So I have all of the individual channels being grouped to various buses. So we have an effects bus, drum bus, instrument bus, strings bus. Choir doesn't have a bus, and the 808 doesn't have a bus. So I'll apply it to those specific channels, but the rest, the strings are all grouped together. I have metric AB loaded up as well. And this has the track with my mix that I've distributed to the various music streaming services. By the way, if you do want to stream this song, I'll make the link available in the description if you're interested. So just for reference, as you can see here, as I play the song, I can toggle back and forth between the FL project and my mix so we can compare. So right now it's playing the FL project. And then we can switch to my mix. Now you'll notice my mix is a lot louder. That's because I've done all of the final limiting and processing on the master channel before I distributed it. So we're gonna do that. Let's jump in and then see how it compares once all of those plugins have been added. All right, so I've loaded the Smart EQ on each and every bus group, and I've loaded the Smart Comp on each and every bus group as well. On the master, I've loaded the Smart EQ, the Smart Comp, and then the Smart Limit. So I have the compressor's threshold set to 0. Right? Because I don't want to do any mastering compression at the moment. And also for the limiter, I'm not pushing any gain. I'm just setting a threshold at 0. We're going to get to the actual settings after, once we actually play around with it. Same thing for the EQ. It's flat, so there's no EQ being done. So with that being said, the first thing we have to do is let's create a group called bus group and add all of these bus groups to the group within the Smart EQ4. So this is one of the benefits of the Smart EQ is you can create groups and then you can prioritize certain channels within those groups to say, hey, I want this channel to be on the forefront. I want this one to be in the mid. I want this one to be in the back. And then it could use its AI algorithm to apply different EQ settings on each one of those channels. So let's see how that's done. So now when it's going to use its algorithm, it's going to prioritize and make dynamic changes to each and every one of those EQs. You'll see in a second. And it's also going to make additional adjustments based off of if it's front, middle, or back. So right now what I have to do is click Learn All, and let's play the song somewhere where all of those channels are being played. So now it's learned every channel. We're going to categorize each individual one, and it's again going to make certain adjustments based off of what we tell it is. So let's give it a go and see the adjustments it made. Let's bring the strings down. You know what, let's do this actually now. I'm thinking. So just to explain for those who aren't familiar with this, so essentially what I can do is I can click on various instances. So because I have the FX bus, it's showing the FX bus right here at the top. That's the primary EQ. Maybe I should open a different one. Let me open string bus. So now the string bus is the primary EQ. If I click on any other one, I can see the adjustments that it makes on those. One thing you'll see here, it says mode. Mode, I can see it on all of them. If I close the group view and go to the individual one, you'll see mode as well. What mode does is it adjusts, or it makes EQ changes to your channel based off of two things. One says TR and GR, track and group. Track is essentially, you tell it what this is. So I said, hey, this is a string bus, this is a cello. So based off of its machine learning algorithm, they say, well, based off of the input signal, as well as what I know what strings or what a cello should sound like, here's the EQ I'm going to apply to it. The other thing you'll see here, it says GR, that's group. In addition to the track changes that it applied, so the EQ changes that it applied based off of the setting I've selected, the profile I've selected, it also makes EQ changes based off of where it is within the group. So if it's first, it'll make certain frequencies that it sees as fundamental frequencies. It'll boost those. If I push it to the back, it'll start to duck some things if there's any sort of masking happening. So if there's frequency masking happening, and let's say my strings are playing over my 808, I said, I want the 808 to drive this beat. It's going to take priority for the 808 and boost certain frequencies, and it's going to duck them on any that I put in the middle or at the back. So I'll show you that once I go back to group. I've selected the 808 and the strings. So right now the strings are in the middle, but watch what happens if I put the strings up. Take a look at the EQ at the top. See how it boosted certain frequencies, and then it actually ducked a little bit out of the 808 because now it has to share that frequency spectrum with another channel. If I pull it down, you see, now the cello started ducking on the low end, and the 808 started being bumped up a little bit on the low end. So I'm not going to make any EQ adjustment because the whole purpose of this is to compare how the algorithm changes things and not how I change it, because I would go in and start to fiddle. I just want to compare how it by itself, just me slapping these things in, how does it sound compared to the way that I mix it. So if you're interested in how frequency masking works and how to unmask certain frequencies and create a better balanced mix, I've created a video for it and I'll have it up somewhere above me. If you're interested, check it out. Now the EQ has been applied, let's apply the compressor. All right, so now I've learned all of them. And after learning them, I've set each profile. So for my drum bus, I said this is a drum bus. For my 808, I said it's bass. So let's see how it sounds like with the compressor as well as the smart EQ. So I moved some of the order of these things because after adding the compressor, their smart compressor just compressing the heck out of some of these bus channels. But again, the whole purpose of this is to see, does their smart algorithm make better decisions than me? So I don't want to fiddle with it too much. Let's go to the master and run it through the smart EQ4 again, smart comp and smart limit. And here we can say, hey, this is a hip hop. Let's set it to trap mix. For the smart comp, let's say this is a hip hop mix. We'll say learn, and here we'll say learn as well. And then in the smart limit, we'll say this is hip hop golden era. So now it's gonna listen to everything that's happening on the master channel. It's gonna do some compressing, some EQing, and some limiting. Let's see. All right, so it did its learning. Let's see the mix that we got. Let's do some A/B testing. So right off the bat, I can really hear the compressor. It seems like it's almost if you have good headphones, you'll almost hear like a wave of compression. It's almost like it goes in and out depending on how much sonic information is happening. It's almost like you can audibly hear it do its thing. I'm sure I can make changes to it so it gives you a good starting point. So I want to be very clear. I'm not knocking the plugins. I think they're great plugins, which is why I bought them. But if you're strictly dependent on its AI capabilities, this gives you an idea of how well does this machine learning algorithm, when you select all the parameters, how well does it compare to an actual person? And again, for me, I'm not a professional mix and mastering engineer. I'm a composer / producer. I understand sound very well. I can mix, I can master, but that's not my day in and day out. I like to make music. All right, so let's compare iZotope's music production suite to my mix. So just a disclosure, I have Music Production Suite 5.2, I believe it is, which has Ozone 10 and Neutron 4. So I know Ozone 11 is out. I don't think there's enough benefits for me to upgrade my Ozone because these are paid products. I bought these products. I did not get sponsored. To be honest with you, there was not enough benefits for me to upgrade it. So I still have Ozone 10, which has most the same capabilities as Ozone 11 minus a few new features. So I have Ozone on my master, Neutron 4, which is in the new Music Production Suite as well. So they did not upgrade Neutron. So this is up to date. Ozone's out of date by one version. So I'm going to set each bus group. I'm going to set them to start listening for audio and then see what kind of mix it gives me. All right. So now it's learned everything. And unlike Sonible, we do not have a grouping feature here. So I have to load all 6 of my neutrons that I have on the bus groups in one window. So hopefully this does not overwhelm you. But I hear my strings, 808, choir, instrument, drum bus, and then effects bus. So let's see, did I get the things right? So for my strings, it says instrument other. For my bass, 808, it detected that it's bass. Choir did not detect that it's vocals. So let's put it as vocals. My instruments, other, that's fine. Drums, it detected that it's a drum bus. And effects, I don't think there's anything that they have for effects. So let's play and see what it gave us. No bottom end on that one. Wow. Wow, those strings sound flat. My goodness. Wow. I do have to say this is a lot more resource intense as well. I'm looking at my CPU, it jumped up to like 60. So definitely Neutron is a lot more resource intense than Sonible, but that kind of makes sense because it's using more modules as well. So whereas with Sonible, I had just an EQ and a compressor, this has Sculptor, which Sculptor is an adaptive EQ. So as your song plays, it adapts the EQ and tries to make the configuration, whether it cuts things or boosts things on the fly as it processes that signal. Then it goes into an actual EQ, then a compressor 1, compressor 2, and then exciter, which is distortion harmonics. It adds saturation and character to each signal. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this is, I guess when you use their assistant, that's the modules that it uses, even though Neutron has a lot more modules. So I have another transient shaper, I have a gate, but this is the order of modules that it gives you. It gives you a adaptive EQ, at least I think that's what they classify it as. Static EQ, maybe there's some dynamics there. Yep, this filter right here is dynamic. 2 compressors, one is modern, this one is punch. Let's see, compressor here. This one's vintage, this one's punch. So I guess it chooses the compression style and amount based off of whatever profile you use. But right after that, I just gotta say, I do not like what it sounds like. Let's play when it kicks in, let's see. I want to fiddle with it, but I'm not gonna because the whole point is to compare its assistant with human capabilities. So let's go to Ozone. I'm gonna set it to learn. Let's play, let's see what we got. Okay, so now that it's heard my mix, it's learned it and it believes it's rock. So that's wrong, let's say hip hop rap. And the reason the profile is important, as you can see, there's a tone. So there's a frequency range for the lows, low, mid, and highs for each profile. So it basically has done analysis on a ton of songs And based off of that, it believes that a certain profile matches a genre. So when you select that profile, it does EQ changes, as you can see when I'm going to go into the modules, to match that profile. So let's go and see what it's done. So it's rolled off a lot on my bottom end. So it's using a high shelf here to boost a ton, I guess, to make it brighter. It's using a stabilizer. The stabilizer is like the sculptor. So the stabilizer is a adaptive EQ, but you can control the low, mid, and high. So you can say how much adaptive EQing you want it to do on each range. So you can see here. So you can see it's making some changes. You can set it to cut. So if you just wanted to cut certain frequencies to match that profile, you can do that. Adaptive EQing. Here it's like adaptive compressing, you could say. It compresses or expands each band so you can select different frequency ranges. And then if you roll it down, I believe that compresses it. If you push it up, it expands it, I think. Let me see. Expands above 0, compresses below 0. Yeah. Then into an imager, which changes the stereo width of the song. So you can change the stereo width of different frequencies. So here it's split at 10K, 2K, and 120 hertz. So it essentially monoed the low end, which is good. I would normally mono below 100 hertz, but even 120 is okay. It made the low mid wider, and then it pulled a little bit off of the highs. Your maximizer, again, if you think about a limiter that you put at the end of your master chain, so essentially you set a threshold where it starts to limit. The lower you set the threshold, the louder the song is going to be, but the more it's going to push into that limiter and really crush any of your transients. So the more you push it, the flatter your output is going to be. So you're not going to see any transients. That's why if you look in a lot of songs where people just drive the signal into the limiter, it's almost like this flat block. If you look at the audio wave, there's no transient because everything is getting squashed. So here's where you set your threshold. There's the ceiling at -1 dB. That's where you typically would want it, and then it's doing some soft clipping. Let's compare it with the metric AB. So again, this is just using the profiles. So this is my mix. Those adaptive EQs, they're great when they're subtle. They sound terrible when they're audible. I can hear it pumping. It's like you're hearing the high end even. So you can get that with when you sidechain a compressor to a kick and a bass, you can hear that boom, boom pump. I can even hear it on the high frequencies here. It sounds terrible. So I do got to say this is not a knock to iZotope. I love their products. I use Ozone and Neutron almost on every single track. From an EQ perspective, I find it convenient enough and their UI intuitive enough for me to use. So I do use it. I never use their assistant, and you can see here why. If you have zero knowledge of mixing and how to balance your track, you can put it on. Maybe it'll give you a better sound than what you have. But if you have any general awareness, I think you can see the quality if you're just solely depending on the assistant. So again, this is not a knock to iZotope. I think they're fantastic, fantastic products. I'm not sponsored by them. I purchased them. So this is not a biased review. This is not a knock. I just don't think from an AI perspective that we're anywhere near where we can hear fully finished, polished songs. So if you think, oh man, the secret sauce is in AI, it's going to help me make my song sound great, I think we're still some ways from there. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is Sonible's mix better than mine? Is iZotope's mix better than mine? I'm not going to be offended, but let me know what you think. Now, if you enjoy watching these kind of videos, if this information has been helpful for you, remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Remember to share it with somebody who could benefit from this. I hope today's video has been informative, and I hope that it inspired you to go and make some music. Peace.